So a large proportion of our clients at Spectra are neurodivergent, often autistic or having a dual diagnosis of autism and ADHD as well. And a fair number of our counsellors fall into that category too. So we know that there are some big barriers to accessing good counselling and therapy as an autistic person. And at Spectra, we do our best to have an inclusive service that welcomes all our neurodivergent clients. As a team of counsellors, we're really committed to continuously learning and improving our practice. So we learn from each other, and particularly from our autistic and neurodivergent colleagues, as well as having specialist training. So neurodivergence is something that we ask about at our initial intake conversations so that we can make sure that we meet your access needs and can answer any questions that you have. What I've done here is put together some of the common questions our counsellors get asked about neurodivergence. So, first of all, do I need a diagnosis to be recognised as autistic? The answer to this one is no. Whilst some people that we see do have a diagnosis, many don't have access to an assessment, whether that's due to financial restrictions or because of the very long NHS wait lists. And others aren't interested in pursuing a formal diagnosis, which is a process that can be really draining for neurodivergent folk. We know that even those who do want a diagnosis might spend years waiting. On that basis, we work with self-diagnosis and those that are just exploring what an understanding of themselves as autistic or otherwise neurodivergent might mean. So we offer you accommodations and support that's based on what you need, what you find most helpful. So another question we get asked is, will you try and cure my autism? And again, the answer is an absolutely not on this one. We work in an affirming way across our services. We recognise autism as one way a person is and not something that needs to be fixed in any way. Being autistic in a world set up for neurotypical people is often stressful and difficult and can cause distress and problems at school, at work, when you're studying or trying to access services. So we can explore this with you and the ways you can cope or adapt, but we won't be pushing you to change or hide who you are. We accept you as you are. We can also help you explore the strengths of autism too, if that's something that you're interested in. How safe is it to be myself in counselling? So part of counselling is about the relationship you and your counsellor build, and a key part of that is trust and feeling as safe as possible. But it can take time for that to be built and for you to feel confident in trusting them, particularly if you've had difficult experiences before. So we welcome you to bring parts of yourself that you might hide or mask in other spaces. All of our counsellors have awareness of things like stims, tics, using fidget toys, different preferences around eye contact, and the variety of ways that people express feelings, whether that's physically, verbally, creatively. We'll give you space to talk about this if you want. And if you want to experiment with trying out different ways of being around other people, so maybe not forcing yourself to make eye contact if that's something that you do, counselling sessions can be a good space to explore it. You're always welcome as well to ask any questions you have about the process or anything that doesn't make sense to you. I will say that counselling isn't always comfortable, and doesn't it always feel great? You might be coming to talk about or explore difficult topics. So your counsellor might ask questions about behaviours or ways of talking to try and understand what's going on for you, and that can be annoying or frustrating. I guess what's different about counselling is that we're trained to be open about feelings and make space for you to tell us if something doesn't work for you or is upsetting you. We can then try and figure out ways to fix that problem and repair the relationship. Another question we get asked often is that if you struggle with focus, how do we deal with that? It's something that comes up for a lot of clients, and your counsellor will likely check in with you on how you want to work with it. Some people really prefer to be able to talk without being interrupted for long periods, and others have a strong preference for being brought back to a topic or a theme. Another thing that might happen is that your counsellor might notice patterns in particular topics that prompt distraction or that you move away from really quickly. And your counsellor might point that out in case it's helpful to notice or it's a sign that something causes stress. So some people prefer to have shorter sessions or a rest or movement break during the session too if focus is hard or exhausting, and you can talk through those kind of options with your counsellor. So what other kinds of adjustments can we make? There are lots of ways for counselling that can be adapted for people that might help if you are autistic. Adjustments we regularly make include things like short calls before the initial meeting just to talk through the process, or sending you a little agenda in advance. Sometimes we arrange to have reminders before sessions, so text reminders or emails. You're always welcome to use fidget toys in sessions, and we welcome kind of stimming behaviour or movement, and that's the same whether you're online or if it's an in-person session, and we have a bunch of fidget toys in our rooms as well. We can offer shorter sessions with a break, or using creative or non-verbal prompts. A lot of what might make sessions more accessible might be actually about how the counsellor approaches topics in the session, things like making sure the pace works for you. So it might mean more pauses for some or less for others. Also introducing or explaining ideas in different ways, not assuming you can feel or name emotions really easily, and maybe we skip metaphors, or we use metaphors like really carefully. Sometimes they're still really useful for autistic folk. So that's a sort of whistle-stop tour of some of the things that come up in counselling. Counselling is highly individual, and autistic people, we're like everyone, have a wide range of experiences, preferences, needs, and reasons for coming to counselling. We don't work with the idea that there's one approach that's going to help everyone. Rather, we kind of work with you to figure out how you can get the most from your sessions. So if you do have any questions or concerns, then just get in touch.